welcome to our Link&Learn with Joseph Sear, Stress Hacks for Busy Dads. Joe is with Valley Massage and Hypnotherapy and also has a growing coaching business. And this was born out of a conversation we had at an Arrive at 5, and felt very strongly about sharing some of this information that he has with you. This series is presented by Florence Bank throughout the year, and this is our last Link&Learn for 2024. So we're very happy that we were able to get Joe on the calendar to share some good information. So feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie, and welcome everyone. So I'm thrilled to see some familiar faces, some new faces, and just having you here today is pretty awesome. It's my biggest crowd yet so far. So onward and upward. And I just want to say too how excited I am to be teaching you some very simple and effective stress hacks that are specifically geared towards the life of a busy dad. And if there's anyone here who's not a dad, then I welcome you to stay and take notes, because there's likely dads in your life who may benefit from hearing the takeaways that you're going to have in this class. So before getting started, I would also like to invite you to just take a moment and tell us why you're joining, or where you're joining from. Actually, let's do that. Where are you joining from? That's easy, right? Just drop it in the chat, and also how long you've been a dad for, if that applies. And if not, then what's a takeaway that you'd love to receive in the next hour? And while you're thinking about that, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I need to make sure that I'm around to see my kids grow up and thrive? And that's a thought that many of us face in our busy, high stress lives. So the big picture here for today is you're going to discover a 3-step process to establish a stress busting self-care routine that seamlessly fits into your life. And it's going to help you stay healthy and energized as you navigate your busy work and family life with all the responsibilities that come with that. Awesome. Jeff, you're from Northfield. Nice. Dad for 3 years. Very cool. I love that. And I'm just looking over here. I got multiple screens. Sorry. Office. You're in the office. Yeah. All right, Michael, you got 2 teenagers here. And that you're speaking my language right now, because I got a 16 and 18-year-old. So I'm right there with you on that. And
3-year-olds and 14-year-olds aren't so different though, Jeff. It's just they're bigger.
That is a good point. That's a valid point, actually. Sometimes we have to remind my 18-year-old to, act a little bit more her age, not so much toddler.
Use your words.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I just want to get into this 3-step process with you and help you to stay healthy and energized as you're navigating your busy work and family life with all the responsibilities that come with that. So why am I doing this? Because I know that this approach truly transformed my life by laying a foundation for a healthier lifestyle. And it's in the spirit of service to you that I share these insights. So I'm here to support your journey and helping you to navigate away from unwarranted stress and empowering you to thrive personally and professionally without putting yourself last. Because as busy dads, we are often pulled in so many directions, right? And we tend to sacrifice our own well-being. Worst of all, whether it's true or not, we often feel like we're the ones who must come in last because we want to ensure that our family is taken care of first. So this webinar will help you to realize that self-care is not just an option, and it's a necessity to remain present for your family and work. And why right now? Because right now, with the increasing demands of work and home, establishing self-care practices is crucial. You want to show up as the best version of yourself and be a role model for your kids, which means no more burnout, are coming in last. So I'm guessing, maybe even I know from experience, that you might feel too busy for self-care or think it's not practical amidst your responsibilities as a father. And it's common to blame external circumstances or others for why self-care isn't prioritized. However, this is where accountability becomes crucial. So in this webinar, we're going to address how taking ownership of your well-being is essential. We cannot control everything in our environment, right? But we can control how we respond to it, and we can make deliberate choices about our self-care. And this is not about complex routines or unrealistic commitments. It's about integrating simple, effective practices that empower you to take control of your health and energy, no matter the external pressures that you face. So by the end of this session, you'll have some actionable steps to integrate self-care into your life and help you to reduce stress, improve your health, and enhance your work-life balance. But most importantly, I promise, like I mentioned to Jack earlier, no death by PowerPoint in this presentation. So it's just me and having a conversation with you. So I also want to mention that because I have a limited time to cover a lot, that I do ask you to to stay muted and either drop any questions or comments in the chat or wait for me to open it up for Q&A and discussion later on. So I want to take a few minutes to kind of travel back into the past a little bit with you. So for me, I never thought of self-care in my 20s. I'm not even sure that it was a term used much back then. I was born in 1980 at the tail end of Gen X, and I grew up with these macho role models like Schwarzenegger, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock before he portrayed a good guy. And my generation was the one that produced this wave of man babies, right? That are just sitting in the basement playing video games or watching sports and drinking cheap beer. And, we used terms like suck it up or man up, which I particularly hate hearing that one, or don't be a wimp and so on. So because of that and other cultural and societal norms, most men learn to stuff their feelings deep down in their belly and smother it with numbing tools like beer, pizza, sports, video games. So when I was 26, my first daughter was born. And by that point, I had risen to middle management. So I was a hard worker, moved up the ladder pretty darn fast. And I had a lot of value. So I was a middle manager, 26 years old. I was on call. And when my wife went into labor, we were going into the weekend. So I spent the entire weekend in the hospital. My daughter had a challenging birth. So we were there for several days. And at the time, I know it's a little different now. I think it is anyways, but we weren't allowed to have cell phones on in that space. So, my phone was off and I was on call, like I said, but I had set up all the plans and did everything I could up until that point. So come Monday morning, when I drove with my wife and newborn daughter down to my office to drop off my phone, I found out that my second level manager had decided to demote me and put me on third shift. So there was a number of reasons for that, and obviously I had issue with it. But the point was, I went home crushed at that point. Like I just didn't even know what to do. And when we got home, I did what I knew to do, and I went down in the basement with a 6-pack of Miller Lights and turned on my video game console and just started to feel these feelings that were not comfortable. My chest started to hurt. It was like I was, I had Stone Cold Steve Austin standing on my chest or something, and I couldn't breathe. And I remember I just started to cry. and feel the release of all this stress and overwhelm of being a new dad, and just finding out that this career that I was building had a huge setback, which I would overcome. And I did overcome that actually pretty quickly. But at the time, I didn't know that. And at the time, it was very crushing. And then fast forward to my mid 30s. So at this point, I continued to move up, I continued to excel and put everything I had into being a dad and work and all those things. And I experienced these severe stress related episodes, including 911 calls due to heart issues, and a few episodes where I passed out suddenly. It was a wake up call, and it led me to a deep dive into understanding the mind body connection and the true power of self care. So through this journey, I discovered and pursued my passion, which empowered me to leave my high stress corporate job behind. And now today, like Katie said, I own Valley Massage and Hypnotherapy. So I'm helping to relieve stress and pain for active people. I love what I do there. And I'm also growing my coaching practice. And in that practice, I'm actually looking to work with mid-career professional parents who are seeking fulfilling careers. And so I just wanted to share that with you real quick. But also, like many of you, I've seen the harsh effects of stress firsthand. My paternal grandfather died of a massive heart attack in his 50s, followed by my uncle and my wife's uncle, all due to stress and unhealthy habits. And I'm sure that many of you have had similar health scares, rather, or just know men who succumb to stress and poor health at a young age, right? So you might see part of your story in mine, feeling the heavy weight of stress and the potential consequences that brings. But here's what I've learned. It doesn't have to be this way. So through intentional and consistent self-care, we can change the trajectory of our lives. So let's talk about the 3-step process. Step 1, establish a foundation of self-care. And this foundation, I find, has 3 different parts to it. The first part is cultivating awareness and acceptance. So awareness, that is like a map or a GPS where you know where you are in this moment. And that is crucial in terms of knowing what state that you're in. And there's so many different states to consider. Your physical state, how are you feeling right now? Are there aches and pains? Are you relaxed or tense? Are you feeling good or not? So that's important, right? Especially as men too, because we tend not to feel a lot of the aches and pains that we are experiencing. Like I said earlier, we suck it up. And then, of course, emotionally, it's even worse. So emotionally, how are you doing? What is your state? Are you feeling joyful and, are you feeling gratitude? Or maybe you're feeling angry, sad, maybe there's fear, hurt, guilt, or anxiety. So check in with that. And also notice your mental state. Is your mind racing, or are you calm? And just where are you at with that right now? And then lastly, consider your spiritual state as well. And that just means simply, do you have faith right now? Or are you in a state of feeling like there's no hope? So this is an important thing to check in with yourself daily and just gauge your feelings and your state. You could do it at any time. I mean, I enjoy doing it in the morning when I first get up. So just coming back into my, waking state and just check in to see what's going on right now. What aches and pains are there? How, Is there any emotion that's coming up for me right now? Did I sleep well? Is my mind racing? So those are the things that I would check in with myself daily, and first thing in the morning. And then the other aspect of this is acceptance. So having checked in, now we accept the states without judgment, and that's going to enhance your self-care, because you're shining a light on what's going on with you in that moment. And as dads, we often will sacrifice ourselves and make decisions for the family, and we feel like we're coming in last, and we're conditioned to suck it up and shove it down. And what happens when we don't recognize that and accept it is it comes up in ugly ways. Sometimes we come home, we're angry or tired, and open the front door, walk in, or come in through whatever door, and all of a sudden we look around and it's like a tornado went through the house, and it's like, holy crap. It's like, I didn't leave. It didn't look like this when I left, or maybe it did. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting worse. The piles are getting higher. The dishes are just, now, filling up the sink even more. I don't know, but it triggers, it causes the anger potentially, or the frustration, to just come out sideways. You don't even know what's going on until you've just said a bunch of awful things, and now you feel bad about it. So that's what we want to avoid. And we want to be accountable too. So there's somebody who I had heard about a while ago, and I've been looking into some of his work. His name is Jim Rohn, and he was a mentor for Tony Robbins in particular, who's a very well-known strategist and kind of like the founder of coaching. Essentially, he's the reason that coaches call themselves coach. So very influential back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. And Jim Rohn said that you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change circumstances or the seasons or the wind, but you can change yourself. And accountability and self-care means recognizing that we are responsible for our thoughts and our words and actions, especially in uncertain times. Our ability to respond positively lies solely within us. So there's some terminology that I'll explain real quick in terms of being at cause versus at the effect of things that are happening. So being at cause is, the person who is practicing accountability. They are acknowledging that their actions, their words, their being is causing these things in their life to happen, right? Within and internally, externally, it's all them being at cause, versus at the effect of, which is that more of a victim mentality, where you're just thinking that everything's happening to you and you have no control over anything and you didn't cause anything to happen. So that's the other side. And in that state, we can feel powerless. But rather than feeling powerless, understand that we always have choices. And while these choices may not be the ones that we desire, they're necessary for sustaining self-care. So by embracing responsibility and being at cause, then we shift from a reactive to a proactive state. And we're transformed from feeling helpless to hopeful. So in other words, I would say that we're no longer at the effect of any situation. And to practice accountability, you would commit daily to tending to your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, despite uncertainties. Just be certain of your commitment to self-care. And it may be daunting at first, but embracing this responsibility, that empowers you to become the superhero in your own story, connecting you to a sense of joy and freedom. So the second part of this is of this foundational step here is personalizing your self-care. There is no cookie cutter, no one size fits all approach here. Self-care is very unique to each individual. And I would encourage you to try to figure out different activities. I could tell you all day long all the things that I've done or know that works from personal experience and everything like that. And I will cover some of these things, but I just want you to be open to the fact that it's really going to be unique to you. Pick what serves you and what lights you up or helps you in the most beneficial ways, and leave everything else aside, because there's not enough time in the day to try to do everything. We know that. So try different activities. Just a few offhand are meditation, hiking, simple exercises, right? Those are great little self-care tools that have been around forever. And if that, those are some things that you wouldn't be apt to try, then revisit some past activities that have worked for you in the past, and maybe you've just left those to the wayside for whatever reason. But start small. No matter what you do, just do something that's more low commitment, right? And just build from there. Even hydrating properly is self-care. Drink a glass of water at regular intervals to stay hydrated. And that's going to be crucial for both your mental and physical health. Because you get dehydrated, I start getting a headache, and I don't feel well. I don't want to deal with anything. So that's a low, commitment, right? Or music. I'm a music fan. Love it. I created my own playlist. And you could use whatever works for you, but just listen to your favorite songs. Listen to calming music for 3 to 4 minutes and just let it boost your mood or relax. Those are easy. Okay, now step 2 is really learning stress relief techniques. And to do that, we have to understand what stress is. So there's actually a purpose to stress. It can help you to drive achievements and keep you safe in risky situations. You've probably heard this before, but our ancestors long, millions of years ago, they were fearing that saber-toothed tiger attack, right? Being chased by this massive animal, and their stress served them to survive, obviously, right? They knew that if they weren't going to fight or take flight, that they were going to die. So there's a purpose to stress, but there comes a point where it becomes chronic. It becomes a problem. Today we don't have saber-toothed tigers chasing us, but in our minds, we tend to create that situation on an ongoing, recurring basis. And there's health risks that are definitely associated with just heightened stress for long periods of time. Because when stress becomes constant, especially for men, that's when it starts to lead to things like heart disease and other stress-related problems. So, you can't have chemicals and hormones like cortisol or adrenaline pumping through your body for large quantities of time. Or this is meant to be something that naturally occurs in our body, of course, for when a need arises to do that. If you're in an accident or somebody else is in an accident and you need to help and lift the car or whatever type of a thing, that's when that comes into play for a good reason. But it's unwarranted if it's just you stressing about your stress, essentially. So we have to learn how to interrupt the stress patterns. And one tool that I wanted to, or technique that I wanted to go over here with you real quick, is it's a 20-second breathing technique. And it's actually very common. The version that I do is a little bit unique, but it's based off of box breathing. So if you've ever heard of this technique, it's quite simple, where it's inhaling for 5 seconds, holding that breath for 5 seconds, and then exhaling for 5 seconds and holding that for 5 seconds. And it's very effective, like I said, because even Navy SEALs will use this in order to lower their heart rate, drop their blood pressure in a high stress situation. The aspect that I like to add to it is giving a little bit of clarity as well. So let's practice this. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So just follow me. I'll give you the instructions here. When you're ready, just start inhaling for 5 seconds. And as you're inhaling, just notice the air coming in through your nose, through, or your mouth, into your lungs, and then hold that for 5 seconds. And just pay attention to the air filling up your belly or your lungs, and just be aware of it inside of you. And then for the next 5 seconds, go ahead and exhale nice and easy out your nose and witness the air leaving your body at this point. And then take 5 seconds and hold before taking an inhale, and just observe, imagine the air filling the room and just dispersing out into the ether. And that's it. That was 20 seconds right there. And what that did was, physically, it helps to lower blood pressure, heart rate. But mentally and emotionally, it's helpful because at that point for 20 seconds, you weren't thinking about anything else other than that breath. And because of that, you're no longer worried or stressing about your stress, right? You're no longer concerned about things that are not happening in that very moment. So it's a very powerful tool to give you some clarity and just to reset, essentially. And if you did it, let's say like 5 times, or was it 4 times? I hate math. 4 times, that's a minute, right? If you did it 5 times, it's like, no, 20 times. I think it's 5 minutes. I don't know. Hopefully nobody's sitting there with a calculator. I don't think anybody's a math whiz here. But yeah, the point is, if you did it for a minute, it's going to help even more. If you did it for 5 minutes, it's really going to be amazing in terms of just getting you into the present moment and de-stressing right there. And the another technique that I personally love is taking a mindful 10-minute walk. And I had mentioned meditation earlier. So meditation's not always sitting on a cushion, chanting Om, that can be movement as well. Personally, I love doing both. So in this case, a mindful 10-minute walk can be a meditative experience, but you got to do certain things. You can't have your phone in your hand, reading your emails while you're walking. That's not even safe for many reasons. But so keep your phone in your pocket, keep it out of your hand, no earbuds, no headphones, because you want to have your senses all tuned in to the environment, internal environment and external. So you really want to make sure that you're seeing everything around you, you're hearing everything, smelling and even feeling the air, the coolness or hotness of the air, the wind, all that. So bringing all of your senses into this experience, that's where it becomes meditative. And it helps to, again, just like the breathing technique, take your mind, bring it into your body, and no longer be worried about the things that are not actually happening in that moment. So another moving meditation I would definitely recommend is stretching. And again, just being aware of your body. So there's so many 5-minute stretch routines that you could do. Maybe you've done it in the past or you're not sure, just look it up on YouTube. But there's a lot to be said about just opening up your body and shaking off any excessive stress that's in your body. So those are a few ideas, but there's also, they take time. So there's some instant stress relievers that you could do too. If you're at home, then I would encourage you to hug a loved one. and, maybe, do a quick shoulder massage or receive a little shoulder massage. But the physical contact with a loved one, no matter what it is, it's going to help to lower blood pressure. So hugging your partner, your kids, and, if you can do that for a few minutes, then it's going to be great. So if you don't have any of them around and you got a pet, then that'll be great too. Your dog will not probably complain if you hug, your dog for 5 minutes. The cats might. The kids definitely would, probably the teenagers especially. So I don't recommend that if it's not welcomed. And at work, if you're at work, then take a short break, step away from your workstation and just maybe do that quick 20-second breathing and focus on it, just what's going on right now, and manage your immediate stress again by stepping away and just breathing. When I was at my corporate job, I used to go out onto the back patio, and it was a south facing. So I would always, be warmed by the sun if it wasn't cloudy out, and really just feel that on my skin, and just breathing the fresh air. And it was a great reset. And for 5 minutes, it worked great, and it got me out of the building at it, just walking outside the door onto the patio, and that was awesome. So after work, I would suggest a few things here. Is learn how to literally shake off any physical and mental tension before you get in the house or the apartment, or before you get home. Maybe, you park your car in the driveway or the garage or whatever. And before you step out of that, just literally do some physical movements to shake off any tension, to just shake your hands and just kind of get it out. If you're standing and maybe no one's looking, you could do a full body, just kind of like shaking and everything, and audibly just let go of any noise that you may need to let go of. So doing that before you walk in the door releases any charge, any physical, energy that's built up, maybe from a tough drive home or a tough day at work or whatever. That shaking it off, it's something that's so simple and quick to do, and it literally will help to just release the charge. And then in the evening, wind down, allow yourself to unplug, and enjoy a quiet evening, maybe a digital detox, for the last hour or so, you're not looking at your phone, watching the news or anything like that. Just really enjoy family time with, time with your pets, or some quiet reading, work, or anything like that. That's low key. I would encourage you to do. And then the third step is to apply some practical implementation. So you got to find time for this, right? And you have to be intentional about it and prioritize it. And one of the best ways to do that I've found extremely effective is time blocking. So time blocking can be used for anything, and I'll tell you what it is in a second. But in terms of self-care, it's really amazing, because the activity of doing time blocking is a form of self-care, because now you're actually giving all the time in your day a purpose. So what time blocking looks like specifically is from the time that you get up to the time that you go to bed every day for the duration of the entire week. You're going to set up blocks of time that have a purpose, have, been set aside or promised to yourself or to somebody else, if it's a meeting, for example, that you're going to be spending that time doing that activity. And the goal is to not have any gaps. Now you can set up time blocks, specific blocks that are a little less structured in case something else comes up, you need to have extra time. But in terms of self-care, like you set up that period of time that from when you wake up. So you're going to set an alarm to make sure you're up at a certain time if you don't wake up naturally at that time already, and and ensure that you're including that time to do anything that you are uniquely doing for yourself. Having a healthy breakfast, stretching, taking a shower, all of that, right? So you just time block that. And then if you drive to work and you're not working from home, I would say put in the drive time, right? So that way you're accounting for that, and so on and so forth. And you can easily use this for work activities as well. So you can either just time block a whole day of work, like 9 to 5, or you can use time blocking to schedule all of your work activities as well. It's up to you. But and then at the back end of it, the tail end of the day, have time for, we'll make sure there's time for lunch, right? Make sure there's time for dinner, and driving back home if that's the case, and quiet time in the evening. And that's it. And make sure that you plan that out a week in advance. So today, Friday, would be a great day to plan out next week, where you start on Sunday. If you're going to do the weekends, honestly, it's kind of optional. Maybe you just do this Monday through Friday, the time blocking. But start with Sunday or Monday and just plan the best that you can to not have any gaps in that, and ensure that self-care is integrated into your daily schedule effectively, because this is going to help with consistency. You can make sure that self-care block is recurring, and it happens week after week, day after day, week after week, so that you don't have to worry about it. It's there already. You've planned for it. And that is super important for helping you to stay committed. And there's some other self-care secrets that are specifically tailored to dads in high stress roles that I would definitely recommend as well. I mentioned the digital detox earlier. It's really important just to set that specific time every evening to disconnect and unwind and reset before bed. Maybe on the weekends, you dedicate part of your weekend to be completely screen free. If every weeknight's not an option, just have a weekend time slot. Just focus on real life interactions and relaxation. This is stuff that we tell our kids all the time, right? Get off the phone for a little bit. It's okay to be bored. It actually helps you, right? So we have to model that as well as dads, and make sure that you're getting quality sleep. Good sleep hygiene goes a long way. Don't fall into the trap of self-care taking away your sleep. If you're going to set an alarm a little bit earlier, like I mentioned before, start small. Make it 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes earlier. Don't go for like 3 hours of time without sleeping. Been there, done that. Bad idea. So have a regular sleep routine as best as you can, and wind down before you sleep, like I mentioned, and set that consistent wake up time, and just create a restful environment. And as dads too, sometimes we need naps, right? So put those on your schedule as well. Like if you can, just take a short nap on a high stress day, right? And boost your energy and your focus. So yeah, take advantage of that if possible. And just going back to the meditation real quick, and the concept of mindfulness, that can be very powerful. And in simple things like even doing a body scan, where it just means that mentally you're searching, you're looking into your body to feel what's there, to feel any sensations. You can start from your head and work all the way down to your toes, or vice versa, toes, all the way up to your head. It just increases awareness and relaxation before or after a long day. Just checking in. Also highly recommend gratitude journaling. Nobody taught us how to be grateful for things, I would argue. And this is a practice that I've had difficulty getting into because it just seems a little awkward for me. But it is very powerful. Gratitude journaling it could look like, you could even do it in your mind. So you're not necessarily recording it if you're afraid of doing that or don't want to do that. There's apps that you can do on your phone, super easy, to just get on there and just drop in something that you're grateful for, and or just go old fashioned and have a notebook and write it down. Do it at the end of the day and just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And it's going to help you to shift your focus from stress to positivity. So very powerful tool. Nutrition planning, right? We got to stay healthy. And in what ways can you find to do simple things, like I mentioned earlier, with just hydrating properly or healthy snacking? Snacking healthy is going to maintain energy levels throughout the day. So if you have some like mixed nuts or some fruits on hand, that's a good way to keep your energy levels, your blood sugar level, all that consistent throughout the day. And there's so many different schools of thoughts on that. So I'm not trying to impose anything on you, but I would just say that tends to be kind of universal. And for the most part, it's just healthy snacks. And meal prepping is also a great tool to use as well. Plan your meals ahead of time. Don't need to add stress about that, right? And have the same old argument every time you get home. What are we having for dinner? Just do the planning in advance and reduce that stress around dinner time. Just trying to figure out what you're going to whip up, and also give yourself the benefit of more balanced nutrition because you've planned for it. You have the ingredients on hand and everything. You're not just grabbing for the quick, easy thing out of the closet, pantry, cupboard, freezer, whatever. Yeah, that's one thing. And if you have the ability to, I would definitely recommend an active commute. So, walking to work, biking to work, if that's an option for you, just incorporating some physical activity into your commute when possible. That's just going to give you that physical exercise, that stress relief, and it's super helpful for people that are able to do so. If not, then if you have a lunch break where you have time and in your good environment, then take a walk and make sure that you move at least at some point in the middle of the day. Okay. So one last thing I want to talk about is just, in terms of this step, is having a support network. It's really having a connection with other busy dads for support and idea exchange, and perhaps, joining a peer group or a forum. Also, if it resonates with you, seek or try out professional counseling or coaching. Find a professional that can help when needed. And just recognize that there's a lot of power in that active self-care to proactively address mental health concerns or move in the direction that you want. So incorporate any mix of additional practices along these that I've spoken about already. And just know that that's going to keep on enhancing your self-care and keep helping busy dads such as yourself to better manage stress and thrive in both your professional and your personal life. Cool. So how are you feeling right now? Is any of this resonating with you? And just curious if there's any thoughts here that you want to share. And you don't have to.
I love the idea that you talked about time blocking and planning for this sort of stuff instead of having it be in reaction to something. It's like it's it's one of those simple shifts of mind of like, it's not how to deal with stress once it's there. It's almost more of how to prevent it from being an issue in the first place,
Yes, yes,
which
for
for me
sure.
is that's kind of a shift in the way of thinking about it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm gonna slot that out because I
thank
feel
you.
like that is always the thing where, it's like it's too late now to figure it out. I need to have a plan. And it makes sense, so many people have time that they schedule in to go to the gym. Not me, but people who care more about
Right,
their body.
right,
Um, so why not schedule it out for mental health as well as physical health?
exactly. Yes. And that was a game changer for me too, Jack. Yeah, that, just having that practice alone made so much difference for me as far as my personal health and my professionalism, like, just making sure that I had time to between work and family, and it's just
Mm,
so important. The thing is, but you have to do it, right? And you have to recognize that this is a little bit of work, that you have to do. Like I said, Friday, if, for example, you would have to spend, for me, it takes me about 30-45 minutes still, to plan out the whole week. So it's a commitment of time to plan. Um, and sometimes I recognize too that the time that I've planned, I end up doing something different that wasn't what I intended to do for whatever reason, got distracted or something, and have to be accountable for that. That's super important, is as being that accountability piece, and just saying, okay, I recognize and I accept that that happened, and I'm going to, move that time later on if possible, and still commit to getting that done if possible. So, um, cool.
Hey,
Well,
Joseph, have you heard of NSDR, non-sleep deep rest, or yoga nidra?
yes, no, yoga nidra, definitely.
Yeah, just another name for it.
Yeah, yeah, no, so I've been a big fan of yoga. Why am I having trouble here? Of yoga for a long time.
Mhm.
And I've also practiced qigong, which is just an older form of tai chi, if you've ever heard of that. It's moving meditation. Yoga nidra, for specifically, is very restful, and it's hard to think of it as yoga, really, because you're not moving much. Um, it's more of a mindfulness practice, from what I understand.
Yeah, so it's a game changer for me. I do it almost every day. And if you
Nice.
just search on YouTube, just do a NSDR, Yoga Nidra, NIDRA, and you can put in the amount of time. And you can do it for 15 minutes, you can do it for 90 minutes, but essentially it's a guided body scan that
Yep.
puts you into a deep rest state that's not sleep. It's like in between awake and asleep.
Mhm.
And so it gets you into your parasympathetic nervous system in a really quick way over time.
Beautiful.
So it's
Beautiful.
I've got a mat in my office here that most days I don't tell anybody.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Michael. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it integrates a lot of the things you're talking about in terms of
Cool.
mental, emotional, physical, spiritual maintenance.
Yeah, and there is so many things that I really wish I had time for here today, because, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a massage therapist and a hypnotherapist, and I have a very deep understanding of the unconscious mind, and also how to handle unwarranted negative emotions that tend to sabotage so many things that we enter into with the best of intentions, and it just doesn't work out that way because there is some sort of a conflict that we have between what we're thinking we want to do versus what we're more conditioned to do, or what we've shoved down deep down inside, and all of a sudden it just comes out ugly. So So yeah, that is definitely something that I would love to invite you to learn more about, and experience more. So if you're interested, I am going to drop a few chats here, a few resources that I just want to offer to you for free, no strings attached. So the um, the first one here is, you can book a call with me. It's a free 30-minute discovery call, and we can just discuss your unique situation, and you get to gain some clarity and value from that discussion with me. So that's there if you would like to, look out into your schedule, set up a time, and just have a chat for 30 minutes and learn more. And then I also wanted to offer you an invitation to a private online community that I've created. It's called Parent Paths to Success. And if you are interested in joining now as a founding member, it's free. So should I ever end up doing a subscription for this, then you would be grandfathered in, and that would not apply to you. So you would be a free member for life at this point. So I'm dropping that in the chat, and I just want to talk about that for 2 minutes while I have the time, and let you know what it is. So it's a supportive community, and it's meant for connection with like-minded parents. So you could join that network of fellow dads and other parents who are navigating similar transitions and challenges, and fostering a sense of camaraderie and understanding. And you can receive encouragement and empathy from others who understand your unique challenges of blending a professional career and all the responsibilities of that with family life. And as I promise to you, you'll have access to expert content and tips and strategies on managing stress and limiting beliefs and implementing effective self-care routines. So there's going to be a lot more information in there than I could share with you today. So all these valuable tools and resources, those are going to be there, plus probably book recommendations I'll give, or podcasts, recommendations, and other articles that are tailored to mid-career professional parents seeking fulfilling careers. And I would definitely encourage you, when I was talking about accountability earlier, to partner up with other members to set goals and track progress, and maintain motivation for achieving personal and professional development. Just being there though, and engaging in conversations is huge. That's just going to be helpful for you, and to help you to challenge any existing patterns and stimulate growth, and step out of your comfort zone. Also, if I'm doing more workshops or webinars or anything like this, I will make sure that you know about it, and you can participate in any of those exclusive workshops and live sessions, which are going to be just designed to empower and equip parents with skills for a balanced life. So yeah, I just wanted to, and last thing too, just let you know that, very importantly, that it's a non-judgmental space. So you, as a member, you get to share challenges and triumphs without fear of judgment, and honestly just foster open dialogue. So it's under construction. I've pretty much put a bow on it, and it's ready to go. And I would love to have you join as a founding member, and it's open at this point. So if you click the link, you do have to, so this is off Facebook. This is not a Facebook group. I've done enough of those to know that I wanted to do something different. So I actually have a private online community. It's similar to School, if you've ever heard or used that, but you do have to create a user account, and it'll send you a one-time passcode to log into it, and make sure that you enter your email and answer some questions. And then I will get a notification that you've asked to join, and then I'll approve you to get in. So as you can see, it's very selective. Not anybody is just going to be joining this. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. Any questions?
Thanks, Joseph.
I did have a
Thanks.
question that kind of went back to the beginning of what you were talking about with
Mhm.
like, the classic picture of someone, watching a game or playing a video game or something. And
Yeah.
I wonder if you have like a definition for yourself of where that line falls between like, this is self-care and this is escapism, or like where one starts to become less useful and more harmful.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry,
a great,
I've got to run
great
to a 1 o'clock, but thank you so much, Joseph. Great stuff.
good seeing you, Michael.
Yeah, take care.
That is a great question, Jack. And one of the key elements of it being unproductive is when it's used to numb. If it's an escape, if you are doing this to really to the detriment of other healthy things that you wanted to be doing instead. If you're on a diet and shoveling pizza down when you're in a bad mood, that's something that would be concerning. But I'm not knocking any of those things either. I just was using that as an example of what I was taught and what I did growing through my teenage and 20s and early 30s. So it can be a fine line, because like I said, self-care is unique to everyone. And playing video games may be very well a good form of self-care for a person. It in whatever way that is for them. It's when, again, that it interrupts things that they know they would be doing or rather be doing that are healthy, and it's used to numb. So in the case of my example, when I found out that I had been demoted and put on third shift, and that was where I went, was straight to that, versus preparing myself to go to work at midnight that night.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was drowning in my just numbing out, rather, and having I had the intent. I didn't actually drink them, but I had the intention of drinking some beer, and then going to work that night. That was not healthy. That was definitely a numbing skill, a numbing tactic that I was using at that time. So, and leaving my wife upstairs with a newborn. So,
right.
Yeah. So, great question. I give it back to you, Katie, to close it out, even though everybody left.
Yeah, Jeff did mention in the chat that he had to run, but he just didn't want to interrupt you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that this is really important information and very much needed for parents, but I don't think that there's always a space for dads to share, and not in the same way that I feel like women have built spaces.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that you spent the time presenting this today. It really means a lot to me.